This conference will now be recorded.
Maybe. Little hiccup there.
Hello, everyone. This is Allegra. I am starting the meeting. Ed is going to be here soon, and he will definitely take over. Hi, John. Good to see you on Go2.
How's it going?
Good. So I am calling the meeting to order at 6:32. And we will begin. We will wait for the approval of minutes until Ed is here because we need to vote on those.
Okay.
And
So at this point, we're not an official meeting.
No, we can have an official meeting, we just can't vote on anything.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, Chris recently confirmed that.
Yeah.
Because
we were afraid last meeting, we were gonna be short as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how it works. Got it.
All right, so we'll come back to agenda item 2, the approval of minutes, and we will move on to public comment. Did anybody receive any comments from the public? There's no public online right now. Okay, so check, moving right along. Does anybody have any education or training reports? Attend any trainings?
I did. I attended a training put on by the state, Commonwealth, specifically designed for discussing getting your assets into ADA compliance and what those deadlines were. This one was targeted primarily for the folks in the school systems, but it had people joining that were with schools and with municipalities. They basically hold the same 2 training sessions, just advertise it differently, if you will. Lots of really great resources in there. The state's really starting to put out a lot of material that's going to be helpful going forward. So our deadline, because we're less than 50,000 people, is April of 27. So while that seems like it's a long way off, it's really right around the corner. Some of the interesting things that they did bring up was that school systems, so like if you have a school system that is a regional school like Pathfinder, their deadline for becoming compliant is the sum of the population from all of the towns that apply to it.
What does that mean?
So say you're a regional school and you have 4 towns,
Right.
and each town has 15,000 people in it.
Uh-huh.
So that's 60,000 people. That means that your deadline for being compliant would be in 26 versus
Because the
27.
population is 60,000.
Correct.
Okay, I understand now.
So thankfully, we don't have to worry about that. But that is something that our schools in town will have to worry about as well too, making sure that they're also meeting the deadline for that. And it's all digital assets that are affected by it. So it's not just our website, but it's also like how social media is put out, how the newsletter is going to be put out and stuff like that too.
Mhm.
It was a great training session.
Great. Did
Great.
you understand all of
I probably could have taught half of it,
it? Okay.
which is good for us.
Because you'll probably have to, so that's great. All right, any other trainings? Very good. I would also propose we skip AI in Belchertown because I assume Ed might want to have updates on that. So we can move to the communication plan, if that's okay with you, Mark. I will hand it to you.
Sure. So I think there's some things that I'd like to suggest going forward with respect to the plan. First of all, I think we need to review the projects that are in the plan at the moment, and ensure that they're a complete list. My guess is that it's not, and the question is who's responsible for that. It might be me, but I'm not sure about that. So we also need a project leader for the communications plan. I'm willing to serve, but it's up to the committee and to Chris. I also suggest that we add a list of completed projects, projects in progress. The master.
Ed has just entered and we are continuing on. We're in the communications plan update and we're going to go back to a couple items we want to do for Ed. So
Okay.
welcome.
Sorry, everyone.
Should we wait for just a second?
Yeah, I think give them a minute to
Yeah.
get settled, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know who changed the meeting time. Who changed the meeting time?
It was 6:30 last week,
Who
or 2
changed
weeks
the
ago
meeting?
too. I think it was you.
Wasn't my fault. Okay,
Great. Do you want to start back at the beginning to catch Ed up?
We're working on the communications plan. We're down to the communications plan and the agenda.
Great.
So I'm making some suggestions. First, the first one was where to review the projects in the plan, ensure that it's complete. My guess is it's not complete because I know that there are new projects that have not been added to the plan, right? And the question is, who's responsible for that? Who's the project manager for the communications plan? So I'll just leave that as a question mark. Second issue, I suggest we add a list of completed projects, projects in progress, deferred projects that are no longer under consideration. So we know what we should be working on. We haven't gone forward with some of the things that were suggested with respect to making this a tactical plan. So for example, each project has yet to have a project leader assigned. I think we have to do that. Lisa, as I think some of you know, has made comments about adding execution information, and we certainly can do that. We can produce tactical plans for those projects that require them. And I would be happy to distribute some sample tactical plans, if that would be helpful to this committee. If so, just tell me and I will prepare them for the next meeting.
Yeah, I would find it helpful.
Me too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will do that then. And that's all I have for communication.
I have a pretty big thing on the communication plan. We have to do something with this. This has been lingering, modifying, changing on a regular basis. And my feeling on it is it's time to put something forward that's formal on the plan. We can't keep modifying it. So to get something in place that, and I realize that we do need to modify it. It's never going to be,
Sure.
it's always going to be changing.
Yeah.
Okay. Would it be better to create a streamlined, skinny communications plan, shall we call it, maybe more an outline that we add to or modify as needed? So at least we have something in the book saying we have a communications plan, you know, that we can then, and maybe it's modular format, but we've been debating this to death for at least a year, if not.
It'll be a year in
longer.
November.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, how much longer we can keep going with this thing and keep changing it, modifying it, holding off, making it a formal document. So my proposal is, would it be worthwhile creating, I'll call it a skinny plan, lack of a better word, that we can say, this is a communications plan, knowing it's a live document that is going to change over time.
Let me ask you some questions about that.
Mhm.
So the key thing from my perspective is the projects themselves. That's the last section of the plan. That should be a living document. And that's the important thing. So the board has already seen, the select board has already seen the plan. They've come back, they said, terrific, great, go ahead, go forth. But the thing we haven't done is kept the project list current.
Okay, I'm not quite sure that was the reaction of the select board.
Oh,
The reaction I heard was that it's not actionable, an actionable plan. I believe that's what Lisa said, that, you know, it's good, but it's not something that we can implement. It was my understanding, her reaction to that.
so we went back to her and we said, this is a strategic plan. It's not implemented. Wasn't meant to be.
Okay,
And the next thing that you do is you develop tactical plans for each of the projects.
okay,
So your comment is well taken. That's the way I would respond to your comment, but if you think there's a better way, then we should
no,
discuss.
no, I mean, the final authority on this is select board has to bless it, you know, and if they're happy with it, great. If they're not happy with it, what changes do we need to
Sure.
make?
Makes
You know,
sense.
that sort of thing, but they're the ones that have to give it the blessing,
Agreed.
you know?
Yep.
Well, if they have concerns, are they willing to sit down and express those concerns directly to the man who's trying to do the writing?
So I think I'm connecting the dots here. I think we're all hearing similar feedback and it all makes sense. It all works with each other. So I remember from the last meeting, I think you weren't here, Mark, but Chris was saying that he talked to Jen and Lisa and they had this feedback that the plan as it is now is a lofty abstract document that doesn't have a lot of the implementable tactical stuff that we're talking about adding. And so they said, one is that that language is hard to get through and quite long and dense.
Mhm.
And so, and then also missing the stuff that you'd actually be thinking about how to do it. And so it seems like two suggestions would be to add the tactical stuff, the implementable stuff that keeps us on track to achieve the plan goals. And then maybe also come up with something like a skinny version of like the kind of overall communication plan stuff to make it more digestible, at least as one version that could be read and processed.
Is that something you want to do without input from the select board?
Well, I think the idea is to go back to the select board again with.
Yes, but they have comments on the existing plan. And so if they do, if I was an author, I would say, let's sit down and find out what your objections are and let's talk through and see what I can do to achieve what you're after.
What I understood from Chris is that they don't have objections yet because they just,
Well, they
at
said-
present, the plan doesn't have things to object to. It's a,
But they think it's dense.
well, they think it could be more readable. Yeah, but it's,
So anyway, that's my.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think if we went back to them and said, well, how would we make it more readable? It's like, no, wait a minute, they're looking at the 30,000 foot level. You know, that's kind of getting down into the weeds on it. That's sort of saying, okay, how can we make this more readable? That sort of stuff. I would like to suggest we come up with a hard deadline. Say this has to be done by X date. And we have to have something that is officially blessed by the select board by X date. And knowing, again, it's gonna be a living document. It's never gonna be finished.
Right.
You know, but I really feel like we need to get something in the book. We really do.
So not to make it a bigger fish to fry kind of thing, one of the things that we touched base on during that ADA training last week was limiting the use of PDFs on the website. So this would be a document that would go on the website, but it's also a living document, right?
Mhm.
And PDFs are really kind of static documents. So I almost feel like in the end, once we have it together, we're better off making it an actual page on the website than a PDF file. And that way it'll be easier
Essentially a
to
wiki,
edit,
essentially a wiki is
basically.
what we're
Yes.
talking
Yep.
about. You know, I mean, actually what it really could be rather than a page is maybe a Google Doc. You know?
No, because we can't back up the Google stuff for the town,
Okay.
so.
But I agree with you, yeah, we could easily convert it to a webpage.
Yeah, we would want to convert it to a webpage, because that's, getting away from PDFs was definitely one of the things that they covered in that meeting. Like the less PDFs you're putting on your website, the better off you are.
Which I agree, because it would be so much easier too to then to link out to stuff,
Sure.
to embed. If we ever get
Right.
there like videos and explainers.
it
and all
also
that
makes it a lot easier to digest because you can split it into sections
Mhm.
and it's just easier to browse in some ways, depending on those alternative.
And it's way
formats.
easier for screen readers too, and you don't have to really get into the weeds with headlines and
So
subtitles and stuff,
maybe-
so.
So maybe rather than creating a skinny version, if we created a web version, would that make it more digestible to people?
Mm,
As opposed to having to do a rewrite on it? You know, we just take this document, convert it into a web page, or a series of web pages. things like that.
That's a great comment. I mean, should we get advice from the select board? Because they're the ones who are raising the issue.
John?
I'm here. I mean, I liked all this stuff you guys are talking about with the webpage and stuff. I haven't reviewed the document fully. It's a lot for me. I'm not a computer expert, if that makes sense. But I do see what Lisa and Jen are saying with all that stuff. We're looking at a higher ceiling, like you all said, and it needs to be an easy read.
Yeah. Well, tell you what. I'm willing to take a crack at converting it to a web page. Okay?
I like that idea.
And we'll, you know, we won't make it official, we won't launch it, you know, it'll be in the background that we can all look at. And we can make a judgment call as to thumbs up or thumbs down on it, whether we work or not. Because I feel like, as we're talking here, that would make it more digestible, you know?
Yeah, and easy to read too is a big factor of it. Like, obviously, the ease of read is based on how the information's laid out and how you're looking at it. But we also have to be careful too, that the information that we're putting out is like around an 8th grade reading level.
So is the.
And we're all a room of very learned people, so we have a habit of talking up here, whereas we should be talking down here. Yeah, it's a big factor with the ADA stuff, that we gotta keep that in mind as we're going forward.
So, I mean, is that okay with everybody, that I'll take a crack at it?
So are you talking two things actually on the webpage, the tactical plan and then this?
I'll take the existing document that you have right now. Okay. I'm not gonna create anything new. The existing document you have right now, I'll convert it into a web, or a series of interconnected web pages. Because we don't want it to be one sequential thing like that.
Right, yeah.
And we can just take a look at it.
Sounds good.
Sound good?
Yeah, I think it's a great plan.
I think it's a great idea. I think the only thing that makes it tricky with putting it on the web is that revisions are harder to track in web stuff, although presumably they are tracked to some extent.
No, they're actually easier to track.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well then that's great, because there's gonna be revisions and stuff,
Yeah.
so that's great.
But the understanding that, like I said, this will be on the back end, it won't be publicly available.
Right.
I'll give you guys a link so you can look at it and all that sort of stuff, and do it there.
Okay, and as I said, I'll present some tactical plans at
That's
next
great.
meeting.
Awesome.
And that way we can plug that stuff in.
Sure, as we produce it.
Exactly.
Sure.
Perfect. Great. So, Ed, I was running the meeting and I'm gonna hand it over to you, but I'm gonna tell you what we skipped and we can go back to.
Keep going. No, keep going.
All right, then I'm gonna go back and then we'll come back through. So there were two things we skipped. One was the approval of minutes, because we need 4 to approve. So I had sent around minutes from the last 2 meetings on October 9th and September 25th. I didn't get any corrections. Did they look good?
I move we accept the minutes.
I can't vote in a second. I wasn't here.
Are you doing one at a time or are you trying to do?
So if
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
can't vote,
We have to do it separately.
but if you can't vote,
Yeah.
then we,
Oh, yeah, abstaining.
I'm not only on
right, but does that mean?
Yeah, he's a member and he's abstaining, and there's 4 of you.
You can abstain on anything.
Yeah,
but
he
then-
can vote, and because you have a quorum, so he just has to abstain for the minutes because that's all.
And 3 people is enough to make it pass?
Yep, because you have the majority.
Okay.
Great,
Um,
thanks, John.
if you, what were the 2 dates again?
All right, so
September 23rd.
September 25th and October 9th.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of September 25th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I make a motion, we accept the minutes of October 9th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
and abstain,
And
okay,
abstain.
great. Wonderful, okay, then moving to agenda item number 5, which is AI and Belchertown government. We wanted to wait for you, Ed, for updates on that.
All right. 2 things have happened in there. I've been in touch with UMass because we had that great meeting a few weeks ago and they were very excited and motivated and all that sort of stuff. And but the decision was made that we would do a workshop here in Belchertown in February. It's a long time between now and February. And it's really easy for momentum to get lost on a project, things like that. So I've been emailing with them saying, we really want to keep momentum going on this. A big part of it is research and looking into case studies that we want to present at that workshop of what other communities are doing similar to us. Doesn't help to know what Boston's doing in Worcester and all, because it's not applicable here. So I threw that out to UMass with and I said it in there that, could some students do some research on this? I'm doing some, but I'm sure they could do a far better job than I ever could. And they came back with, well, maybe, yes, possible. Is there any way that they may be compensated in some way for
No,
this?
geez.
And I said, and I remember from the days my kids had to do internships as college students and never get paid, which really ticked me off to absolutely no end. So I said, I thoroughly agree with you that they should get paid, but I can tell you there's no money to do it. I mean, and I explained the fiscal crisis for him. I said, if there's some other way we can do it, give them fame and glory or something like that, you know, we'll do whatever we can to compensate them in some meaningful way, so we're not just getting slave labor here, that sort of thing. And that's where that is left at that moment, right now.
You would think that they would use that as part of their coursework and part of their grade, personally.
They can't, yeah, it's too late in the semester probably to do that, you know, because they're halfway through the semester. But my thought, in my mind, kind of ties into, John, were you on the meeting with the chancellor?
I was not at the meeting of the chancellor. There was only 2 select board members, so we didn't have to post a meeting.
Oh, okay. Chancellor was out here for a site visit with Steve, 2 members of the select board and other people on the 16th. And Steve did bring up the AI project to him. The chancellor knows the professors involved, so it wasn't, you know, it was a known thing. And kind of my feeling is at the chamber breakfast that I went to, the chancellor rolled out this new project where UMass is working with local communities to lend their expertise to local communities in a meaningful way. And I kind of thought, well, there's an avenue for potential funds to pay, you know, I don't know the internal politics and all that sort of stuff. And I had mentioned this to the professors too, when we met about this project. They didn't know about it, it was news to them. And I said, well, that kind of gives them cover, because part of their problem is they really like this project a lot. But also it's kind of like an unbudgeted project, you know, that they weren't anticipating and all that sort of stuff. But I said, well, that kind of, this chancellor's project, and I forget what it was called, kind of gives them cover, you know, they may give them funding and all that sort of stuff for it. So we'll have to see where that comes. You know, I'd love to talk to Steve. And John, did he give an update at the select board meeting? I didn't listen to it, so did he say anything at the select board meeting about it?
Yeah, the chancellor visit was good. They went over some stuff in EDIC land, but there's 3 other communities around that are looking for potential stuff. So they're working out stuff through the chancellor's office to figure out how they can help the communities and release information like that. So there's some more stuff going on with it, obviously behind the scenes that we won't know for a while, but it seems promising, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They like Belchertown, we're close by. So who knows what could unfold from this.
Okay.
So Steve might be your avenue to the chancellor then?
Not might be, is.
It is, okay.
And plus these professors too. So, you know, 2 avenues getting in there.
We had a follow-up meeting this week about the chancellor meeting. It was Lisa, Steve, Jen, myself, Lisa Stahl, and Abby. And we discussed like who should be the one person, like the one main connection to the chancellor. And it was decided in that meeting it would be Lisa Stahl. So you might want to reach out to her instead of bogging Steve down with it. And obviously she'll be in charge of keeping Steve and the select board and everybody else abreast about their relationship and stuff, but that was figured out during this meeting this week.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Ed. Any other AI related updates?
There was the, what do I want to say here? The policy that Steve put out, is that complete now? Is that?
No, we're having a meeting the 27th.
Monday?
I believe. I have to look, it's upcoming.
That's,
What's the
special
lawyer?
town meeting day, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
No, I don't think it's on Monday.
Okay.
But it's a meeting that Steve had set up with the lawyer to discuss it.
Okay.
We commented on the draft, sent it back, and Steve has set up this meeting, so it's a virtual meeting. Give me a second, I'll look. I know exactly when it is.
Okay.
It'll take me a little longer than I thought. Yeah, I'll tell you when.
Great.
So how does music sound on that new computer?
No, you haven't played any.
Oh, man.
You
That was nice
do?
speakers.
It's pretty.
It is pretty, it's fast too. As long as the internet connection's fast.
Okay, so that's my report on AI.
All right, we'll move on when you get the meeting date. We'll
Mhm.
add it to the record. So,
7.
yes, the next agenda item is enhanced town warrant.
Moving along very well. Steve wants to do it. We met a few weeks ago to discuss that with, let's see, Kate, me, Chris, Lisa, Steve, Melissa. Is that about it?
I think that was it, yeah.
Okay, we met down at the high school to talk about it. Everybody, oh, and Terry.
Yes, right.
And everybody was on board with the idea. They liked it. They thought it was a good idea. So it's up to me to come up with a template for it that we can use going forward on it. Also, we need to determine the workflow. A little bit more of what's involved with getting the information together, what kind of timeline is needed to do it. Because it's the sort of thing, nobody has to do any extra work. They're doing it all anyways. It's just that we need to lay out a timeline by when it has to be in. Because right now, it seems like the only deadline is the week before town meeting. It has to be done, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, we want
There's a state imposed deadline or only a town imposed deadline?
well, there is a state imposed deadline that you have to have the warrant articles published. I think it's 14 days before. It's different for an annual and a special,
Okay.
but there's a window that you have to have them published. And the way Ware does it, and we're using them as the model on this, is as soon as the select board approves the warrant articles, they publish it, and they meet that requirement. Then they start working on the enhanced town meeting packet, which would include the votes, laypersons, decision on explanation of it, things like that. So what I'm going to be doing is talking to Ware, but Stuart Beckley, the town manager over there, and I are playing telephone tag right now, just to find out what is the process behind the scenes to put this together so that we can hopefully model it here and try it out. We're definitely not doing it for the special town meeting on Monday. But, I think hopefully we have enough lead time now to start fleshing it out and figure out what needs to be done.
And you're gonna talk to Munson too, right? And then Melissa was going to backtrack through the timeline and how things fell into place during the Maytown meeting. And we're gonna see where that was and kind of compare it to how other towns are setting things up and what their timelines are.
But your goal is to have it available 2 or 3 weeks before town meeting?
Ideally, I'd like 2 weeks.
Yep.
We kind of said a week, worst case. I'd like to have 2 weeks, just so more people have time to digest it, And so if that's our goal, then we'll just build a schedule backwards from there.
Yeah.
As to what date and time everybody has to have stuff in to get it done. But like I said, no, it's no extra work. It's just.
Coordination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Finding the deliverable dates. Finding the dates for the deliverables.
Exactly. Yep, so any questions?
Sounds great. All right, the next agenda item is gateway signage.
So I reported on this 2 meetings ago, and the emphasis on this project and the reason that we want to go forward with this was to assist with economic development of the town. And of course, that's I think a key direction of the select board. And we want to do that by improving the entrance to the town, especially on Route 9, where we have a deteriorating signage. It's been that way for decades, I think, and nothing's been done. And we thought that we could significantly improve the entrance to the town by replacing the sign. And it sounded like somewhat of a trivial project that we could do, and now I'm less certain about that. With respect to the funding, the committee suggested, and I think John and others suggested, that we ask the CPC whether funds could be used to fund the project. And I did write to Jim Natley, and he responded by saying, no, he said, terrific project, but this would be an inappropriate use of the funds. So there was that. And as you may remember, I went through budgets for some of the mock-ups that I had done. The cost would be in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000 per sign, depending on whether or not it was multiple inks or only two, and certain other things. But the other thing that happened at that meeting was that Kate reported that Steve said, yep, great idea, but we should do this for all of the entrances and exits for the town. We have five.
Nasty.
We have five of them: Route 9, Federal Street, Route 202 North, Route 202 West, Ware Road, Franklin Street to the south. And in addition, as I count them up on the map, about 10 to 12 other assorted roads that leave or enter Belchertown. So you'd be looking at $40,000 to $50,000 project if you did everything that Steve has requested us to look at. I don't think that's practical. What I'd like to do going forward is to continue our investigation into this. I'd like, what I'd really like to do is get an estimate on the signage. I provided my own estimate, which I thought would be between $3,000 and $4,000, but I think it would be helpful to get an estimate from a signage company if we could do that.
So if you want to email me some of the stuff over after the meeting or next week or something, I can send it over to the folks that are working on the cultural district signs.
Yeah.
And I can get them to quote on that for us.
I think that would be great.
And then regarding like the funding and everything else too, through branding, we've learned a little bit more about fundraising in town.
Mhm.
And if we wanted to set up to fundraise for this project. Something else that I can offer to do would be to like reach out to our neighboring towns that have these signs and ask them, who did you use? How did you fund it?
Mhm.
And if you want, I can certainly do that for you too.
Well, that will be helpful. Thank you.
Are we assuming that our Tolley as a sign company would be more expensive than going through this process, your side of the idea?
I'm not sure, and I think that's why it's worth checking a couple different places and seeing what it is, you know?
Mm.
Just because we know that they make signs, doesn't mean they're gonna give us the best price.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly.
So I mean, is your intent to try to do, and you said it's unreasonable to do all the entrances to
Mhm.
town.
Mhm.
So you're focusing on just one?
I'd like to start with one, or maybe one per year, or something like that. Yeah.
That's realistic.
I'm gonna say the last, 2 meetings ago, the committee was sort of pushing for all 6 to be put up at the same time.
Yeah.
That was my memory, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is unrealistic, and
Yes,
that would just kill the project. right?
exactly. That's
But
right.
if we did one, like, let's say Route 9 from Amherst coming in, very visible, and then we can point to that as a proof of concept.
Precisely.
And it would also be a good learning experience too.
Yeah.
None of us have ever done this before,
Yeah.
so.
So instead of making 6 mistakes, we only make one.
6 times.
Unless like somebody's like, you can have 6 for the price of 3, you know, but that's not gonna happen with these signs, so. Yeah, I would continue.
Sorry. I also want to make one more comment, and that is that we're looking at 2 different kinds of signage right now as a town. We're looking at gateway signage, and then we're looking at wayfinding signage. They do two different things, and they can look different. I understand a certain motif that the design committee has chosen, and we can honor that, but we can also make the sign a lot simpler.
Okay.
So anyway, that's something to keep in mind as we get an estimate.
For sure, and we have versions of our logos in, black and white and all the monotone colors too. So if it turns out that a sign that's just 2 colors is a third of the cost or something, there's no reason to try to push for full color, knowing that we're allowed to do it in monotone.
Right, so 5 colors would cost about $1,000 to $1,500 more than 2 colors.
But I would argue for the full color one, because it's more visually appealing.
But at that point too, aren't we gonna leave it up to the select board and let them pick which way we're going?
Or we can.
Well, so that's an interesting That's an interesting point, and that got me back to the point I made before you got here. And that was, I think it's important that we go over our committee charge again, and that we see what responsibilities we have and are executing, which ones are not, and we can cut away, but which ones we might want to add. Now, signage is a form of communication. So one would think that signage would be within our purview, but I know it's not in the charge.
Well, whose is it?
It's exactly, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think we should look at our charge again, and we should include those things that aren't in it. This
Yeah.
would be one of them.
And we can certainly go back to the select board and kind of
And
look
we-
to write it in.
And we talked about that, like, once a year, going back.
Precisely. That's right. That's right.
Which we're the only committee that does them,
I'm sure.
which they were flabbergasted at. We came back with we want to change our charter.
It's good for 100 years.
Normally, we do the charge for you. Yeah, I
And
remember.
actually, there is one other committee, I think, that did do that. I forget who. And I think they referenced us as,
Oh,
Well,
they can do
did.
it. Okay,
That's all I got.
that's great. Thanks,
Yes,
Mark. Yeah.
That's discovered in the first paragraph.
What is covered in the first paragraph?
Doing
other
signage.
duties as assigned.
Correct?
Oh, I see.
It doesn't say signage particularly, but it says,
Public facing communications.
yeah,
Oh, that's it.
Okay, good, don't need to change the charter.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking 2 meetings ago when we had this conversation, it felt like, yeah, it was blowing up into a much bigger thing with all the 6 signs. And also I was driving through the other parts of town, not the Route 9, and is it the case that it's only Route 9 that has that gateway sign, right? Like,
Yes.
okay, so, yeah, it's
there was
it'd be
one on
good to replace
202
that one.
also.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, but I got cut down
The
quickly.
one that, the old ones, there was one on 202 at one time, I don't know if it's still there.
Oh, yeah,
It
forever
got
ago.
cut down very quick. No, I'm sorry, that's the,
Anyway, coming out of
Anyhow,
Ramby.
that's the Ludlow, no, the Ludlow one. The one somebody took a chainsaw to,
Really?
right after it got put up.
No kidding.
They took a
Wow.
chainsaw to it and cut it down.
totally use metal poles.
We stole it.
Wow.
Bob LeBrecq was not happy.
Town newsletter.
Yeah, well, anything else on the gateway? signs?
Nope.
Okay, let me just circle back. Ed shared with me, let me confirm that I wrote it down correctly, that just the AI meeting that they're having on the AI Town Council AI policy is Friday, October 24th, tomorrow at 10 a.m.
It's good that you checked that.
I know.
You could have been late again. I mean, you know.
All right, so now the next agenda item is town newsletter. We are coming up on November issues soon. And we're gonna, we set the deadline for after town meetings, so, for Tuesday. So we should, and hopefully we'll have some things to share from the special town meeting. And really no other updates. We are gonna send out we're gonna send out a special issue, really just like a single announcement to remind everybody who's a subscriber to the newsletter that there's a special town meeting on Monday, and give them the documents. That'll go out tonight or tomorrow morning. So,
Just a one sheet.
yeah, it's just gonna be a short email.
Yeah, it's
Not
like a
gonna
little
scroll much.
postcard, it looks like.
Yeah, just as another reminder for folks.
On a kind of related thing, and I'll talk about this towards the end, the Innovation Award. Can you send me a PDF?
I got your email and I then missed it, but I'll come back to it and send it soon, yeah.
Just pick which one you like the most.
Okay,
Send it to me.
so,
So I have some questions.
Kate suggestion.
If you don't get the newsletter, or if you don't use the website, how would you know that there is a newsletter as an occupant of the town?
Oh,
well, so we should at some point do more outreach about it. We did initial outreach about it, publicity about it. And what we did, among the methods of getting the word out, there were some flyers that we put in places like Starbucks and things like that. We put a couple weeks in a row, it ran in the Sentinel, I think. So we got some signups through that. Most people saw it through the website, the banner on the website. So that was definitely through the website. Word of mouth.
were you in the Sentinel? You were in the Sentinel?
In the Sentinel,
At
yeah.
least once.
One or two times, I think they ran it.
Yeah.
And so I do think it's something to revisit, because slowly people hear about it from other people, but we might want to do another wave of publicity about it.
Mhm.
And if you have any suggestions for other avenues to
You want to do
publicize
the
it.
little cards like Kate did on the emergency thing?
Yeah, to be at events with little.
We could totally do
stuff
those
is a
cards
good
to send for the
idea.
newsletter.
Yeah.
Something else that I have to be better at doing is getting announcements over to our tax collector before the tax bills go out, because you can
Oh,
include
yeah.
announcements with those.
Hmm.
So we should have a sheet in there to sign up for emergency communication, sign up for the newsletter, stuff like that. And that is something that is on me that I have missed the last 2 quarters of tax bills on.
Church bulletins. It's a very good avenue.
Yeah.
Okay,
We've done that in the past.
If we can come up with a shortened URL, we can also use the flashing signs in town.
yeah, that also we did do the road sign on 202, and
Yeah.
that got a bunch of people, the week that it was flashing, so.
And the fire department's been really good about putting stuff on their message boards recently too.
Oh, great. And of course, Kate put it out on social media and stuff as well.
Mhm.
So I think maybe just at some point, we should plan to actively do more with it, and I can talk with Chris and Kate about when makes sense. I feel like we're waiting for a little bit of a lull to do that, but.
So I assume sending something to everyone in town would be too expensive.
I-
Something like that.
Yeah.
We don't have
that
money
would cost
for
too much.
every door
Yeah.
mailings.
Yeah.
I wish we did.
So
Wish we did.
Yuletide in town is happening, was it November 1st?
Yeah, it is.
So that would be a possible,
Okay.
lots of people floating around.
Okay,
For sure.
okay, let me start thinking about that.
And so, like, we had also talked about content of the newsletter.
Mhm.
You and I had some good discussions about substantive issues like the financial crisis, what the reasons for the financial crisis, what's being done to address financial crisis and so forth, what we can do about economic development in the town. And you and I went back and forth and have just had some good conversation around that. And you said you were thinking about it. You were thinking about the content for the newsletter
Mhm.
and whether we should go into those kinds of sophisticated subjects
Mhm.
or not. And then we didn't communicate again. Any further thoughts on that?
I haven't really thought about it much more, but just having more experience with putting the newsletter together, I would say that one line I would draw is that I don't think it makes sense for us to create content ourselves, like create like a news story. Like for me to write a news story about the financial crisis in town, I don't think should be something that we do as the newsletter editors. It's more about getting stuff from other people who are in town government or other, groups in town to communicate the things that are on their plate and they're doing, or events that are coming up. And so it's probably, if we want those issues to be covered, it's about reaching out to those people to say, it would be good to use the newsletter as a vehicle to communicate those topics.
Plus things like the fiscal crisis, that's changing on a daily basis, so anything you put out in a monthly newsletter is probably soon gonna be outdated,
Yeah, but everything's kind of outdated in the newsletter. Like the idea is it's a monthly update about what's going on in XYZ part of town. So I think it's more about figuring out who would want the responsibility of communicating those substantive issues. And so would we want the select board, John, to write up something about it, to share?
That's a good topic. I think that should stay with like the finance committee or something like that. So if you reached out to the finance committee, that would be more their purview, and they could give a better explanation of what's going on with town finances, along with Jill to the town accountant. And I think if you leave it with them, the article in that would make more sense than somebody else. And
Okay.
kind of let the committees do their own articles.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, great. So maybe I'll just talk with Kate and Chris more about how to do that outreach to them. But yeah, that's a good idea to try to get more input from finance on the newsletter. Any other questions about the newsletter?
How many subscribers?
I think we're still under 600.
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
It's a big number.
It's not nothing to sneeze at, yeah.
And I recently ran into somebody at an event who found out about stuff through the newsletter, and it was just cool. So
Oh, good.
enjoyed it.
You've been doing an excellent job on it. You really have.
I learn a lot every month. All right, so moving on then is belchertown.org, the website.
So I realized yesterday that it was a month and a day since I had heard anything from our account manager over at Civic Plus about the order they have in-house for updating our website to the new branding. So I called him and I left him a voicemail and I sent him an email. And I'm, give him till sometime tomorrow and then I'll call and see if I can work my way up the chain, but yeah, it's really disheartening.
You know, so given what you said, he's no longer on this project.
He's our account manager,
Oh,
so
okay.
if it's our project,
He
he's
kept
on
talking
it.
about how people were changing on
Well,
you.
they do.
They do change quite frequently, and for all I know, we have a different account manager and nobody's told me.
Well, the thing too is when we had talked to them, if we talk about getting additional modules to it,
Mhm.
the website, and if we do, that jumps us up to another tier where we get a dedicated account manager, supposedly,
Oh,
allegedly,
I see.
which would be nice, but. Yeah.
All things come at a price, but yeah, like I said, I realized yesterday it had been a month and a day. So I'm gonna call over there tomorrow and shake some trees and see if I can find somebody.
Is Civic Plus a topic for like the communications managers that in other towns? Like, do other people have issues with Civic Plus?
It's not just within the Commonwealth, but like, kind of across the country. Like, they're the biggest player and a lot of people complain about their customer service.
Yeah.
And it seems like one of those, the bigger they get,
The less they care.
the less they, maybe not care, but the bigger they get, the more finger pointing between different departments and who you're supposed to talk to. And a lot of people have also noted too, that it's great customer service when you're onboarding with them and getting your website up and going and everything else. And then kind of after you hit that 1 year mark, it really falls off. And unfortunately, that's been proven correct. But like I said, I'll call and see if I can shake some stuff loose on that.
This is something we can't do ourselves at all.
I wish we could, but we can't.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Kate. Any other website stuff?
Not for me.
All right, the next agenda item is branding committee updates, which I think is usually Chris, but Kate, you're also very in that.
So we had a branding meeting between these two meetings. Because as you're aware, the lingering deliverable on that for the branding committee is coming up with the digital version of the town seal, the scalable version and everything else. We went into that meeting knowing that Terry had quotes for $5,000 to get it done, but those are like Cadillac quotes and they included color versions and everything else too. We also knew that Wayland had recently worked with somebody, everybody on the committee liked it, and we knew that we were able to find about $2,000. Not a small amount of money, but obviously not 5,000. So in that meeting, what was determined was that we are gonna put together a creative brief for the project. Really outline exactly what we're looking for, provide, the documentation that we have, put out there how much money we have, what our deadline is. Like, we want it done by the end of the year, but we're willing to wait longer if we can get it for the price we need, kind of thing. And Molly Robinson on the committee took the lead on writing that creative brief, with Terry and I both providing input for it. So Molly did the creative brief, I provided input for it. She asked Terry a couple times for feedback on it. And then she got like a thank you, like that was the email, like was just thank you. And then Molly followed up again on it and Terry let her know that she went back to the people that had sent her the quotes to re-quote it, essentially without the creative brief.
I'm sorry, missed the last part of that. She went back to the people who gave the quote to what?
To re-quote it, but didn't provide them with the creative brief because it wasn't done.
Oh, okay.
And then Molly reached out to ask what was going on, but Terry was out of the office at that point.
Got it, okay.
So we have a creative brief that is 90% done, but I guess we've gone back out to quote without it.
Why get a requote? Like, what would inform the requote to be different from the first quote?
Well, that was what the creative brief would inform it, because like they created the Cadillac version with color and all this other stuff that we didn't need.
Right.
So we were hoping by really outlining exactly what we needed, like only black and white, and these are our deliverables, and this is how much we have and we can wait.
Yeah.
We are hoping to
So Terry might have communicated, scale it down a little, give us another quote, but not the precise.
Yeah, no one can say like what Terry said. She just got back to Molly and I and let us know that she had reached out to get it quoted, So we shall see, when we have, our next branding meeting, which is not on the books yet, because we were waiting to have our next branding meeting put on the books for having these quotes or having the creative brief, because we were gonna discuss the creative brief as a group
Okay.
before going out.
And until it's complete, why do that?
Yes.
Great, thank you, Kate. Moving on then, statement from the Communications Committee officially requesting the Select Board to set a policy about third-party information to be shared on the town's website and Facebook feed.
So this was a big one. This was about our events that we're sharing on the website, on Facebook, obviously events in the newsletter too. I had sent some emails to the folks in Greenfield, never heard from them. Heard from the folks in South Hadley, like I reported on last time. Weren't getting a lot of feedback, so I put something out on the MMC listserv saying, hey, if you're using a website calendar, what are you using it for? And I set up a Google sheet essentially to let people plug in their information. And I've heard back from, I want to say about maybe 24 at this point. I have a couple like in my email that I have to add into the sheet for them. So I've heard back from about 24 about how they're using it. I've shared the sheet with Allegra because she offered to work on this with me. So I guess like our next step after people have filled stuff in is to start looking at the ones that say, yeah, they have a community events calendar and see what's there and who we want to learn more from.
Okay, so you're just asking, do they have a community events calendar?
So the question is, do you have a calendar on your website? Yes or no? Yes, what do you use it for? And some are just posting meeting agendas, like stuff that the clerk is putting up as required by law. And then some of them are doing, holidays and senior centers, and some are doing community events. And people have put in like notes and stuff. It's been really eye-opening to look at.
So smart, just very smart to do the outreach that way to get quick input.
I only got that because someone else did outreach on something else, and I was like, oh, that's the simplest way to get feedback. Why didn't I think of that sooner? Oh, they wanted to know whether or not people had comments turned on their social media.
Okay. Yeah.
And someone put together a sheet and asked everybody to fill it in. And I was like, that's fabulous. Let me ask people the same thing.
It's great.
Okay, so coming back to this, the way the agenda item is worded, it's saying that we want to go to the select board and say, okay, please set a policy. So is this research you're doing so that we can make a recommendation?
Yeah, so we had requested the select board to make the policy, and they came back and said, well, what does everybody else do?
Okay, so really, so when do you think we'll be ready to go back to the board with a recommendation?
I'm hoping we can get on their second November meeting, like not the meeting on November 2nd, but the second meeting of the month.
Because I think we need to meet first.
Yes.
To vote on it before it goes forward.
Yeah.
So that would be,
Second Tuesday.
13th? On my computer.
Yes,
Having a hard time.
it'll be the 13th.
13th is our meeting,
Is
or
our meeting.
Yeah, so I think if we aim for the 13th for us to vote on it.
And they're what, the 3rd and the 17th then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, just looking ahead, they have to post, Terry needs a select board agenda by Wednesday,
Well, I can always get on the agenda as an appointment and then cancel my appointment.
Sure.
So that's what I'm thinking, get on the agenda. Then for some reason, the 13th, we don't vote or whatever, we can just nix it.
Yeah, or I could just provide them with a quick update as to where we're at, so.
Yeah, but if you,
Okay.
so plan on getting on the agenda for their meeting on the 24th
Okay,
of November.
let's send that now.
okay, great. Thank you, Kate. And Esther is not here today, so there's maybe no BCTV manager update, but I don't know, Lou, if you have any other BCTV things you'd like to share.
Other than the fact that, we're still out there in the field. Anytime there's an event in town, we try to cover it. Unfortunately, there's only one unit doing that. And so there are some events that aren't being covered.
Do you say that because you're looking for more ways to cover it, like volunteers and stuff?
I don't want to speak for Esther,
Yeah.
but if people were willing to go out and cover community events, I think she would be appreciative, yeah.
Gotcha, okay. All right, communications manager update is next.
All right, so things have been busy. I know, shock, right?
And that always your first statement.
It is always my first statement because things are always busy. Get my notes together here. Like I knew this was coming up on the agenda and I just, my notes in front of me. So we talked about, the training session that I went to in regards to the ADA information for the website. I spent a lot more time really looking into the different pieces of this in the last couple of weeks, trying to wrap my head around it better. I do think that come the beginning of the year, we're gonna have to set forth a plan in order to ensure that the website is gonna be able to be updated in time. I have a request for.
You need to be ADA compliant.
To be ADA compliant, correct. I do have a request for quote out from the Collins Center, who say that they do stuff like this. They're a group out of UMass, but we know that money's tight. But my time is also, it's only 19 hours a week and it's a huge lift. A big part of this too is going to be ensuring that the new content that we're putting on the website is compliant. I had done a training 2 months ago at this point, teaching people how to create PDF files, how to, post things on the website, use headings and subheadings, and that's been met with mixed response. Definitely getting better regarding the PDF files and creating them out of Word or Excel, whatever they come out of naturally, but still a couple of hiccups on the website. Speaking about the website, I have added our hazard mitigation committee onto the website. So their page is now complete, and that goes along well with the hazmat plan draft update. They had the meeting yesterday on that, did a lot of outreach for them regarding that meeting, press releases and stuff like that too, working with the PVPC on that. And then I'm also working with the Lakes Committee to get them on the website. So that's.
I did take the medication and it's already up at BCTV, so it might
Awesome.
be available for you to.
Yeah,
Yes.
I will definitely look for that, thank you.
Okay.
So we're gonna
Sorry.
get the links, no, that's great, that's good to know. We're gonna get the Lakes Committee on the website as well too. And I'm doing some work with the EDIC, specifically with Cheryl Dutton, who's taking on their communications portion of their committee and helping them get their message together. The one item, and it really ties into the EDIC, that I wanted to bring up with the committee tonight is in that meeting that I had alluded to earlier this week, that we had the follow-up meeting with the chancellor's visit. Something that Lisa and I really both feel strongly about is we need to get together Belchertown's talking points. We need to have Belchertown's elevator pitch. We need to have everyone giving the same message about Belchertown, starting from the top down, so that as people are coming to the community and they're looking to either buy houses here, expand businesses here, start businesses here, large or small, they understand who Belchertown is and what we're looking to offer. Yes. And I would really appreciate help from the committee on that project. I don't necessarily think it's like a subcommittee thing. In my mind, and if you guys want to address it differently, we certainly can, but in my mind, like I would love to hear from each member of the committee what you see as Belchertown's elevator pitch and be able to take those, because we all look at the town differently. We all have our own biases about the town. And I'd love to be able to get these different opinions and put them together and start looking at them and massaging them. Because at some point, it's gonna have to be something that gets worked through and goes to the select board and have them be like, yes, this is Belchertown, this is the town we are trying to sell.
Just like a paragraph with things in it.
So, a paragraph about who Belchertown is, but also like talking points, like, are we open for business? Because if you ask some people in town, they'll tell you, no, Belchertown is not open for new business. And then if we are open for business, what are you? What is the answer to that question?
Then how do we answer that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Or if people say, is this a good place to raise a family? Some people are gonna say yes, some people are gonna say no. What's the line to get people to believe in the town, to make them want to come here?
Belchertown, a place you've never heard of, but a name you won't forget. That's the tagline I use.
And honestly, at some point, like a motto may certainly come into it.
But Jake Oliver goes, where your water comes from.
Well, that's when you're talking to Boston.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's who and what is Belchertown? Like, you can talk about how we're situated halfway between Worcester and Springfield and close to the 5 colleges and all that other stuff too. But, also, like, yes, location is one thing.
But what's our identity?
But what's the identity, exactly? And we have the identity in the logo. We have some of like the conceptual materials from when we went through the branding exercise, but we never really got into getting what this elevator pitch is.
So yes, what's our identity, but also what's our competitive advantage?
Yes, yep,
Oh, okay.
exactly, and who our competitors are,
Yeah,
and identifying all the different spaces in that.
Mhm.
Like really, essentially, like, ask us for the elevator pitch about Belchertown, but in the end, it's a full marketing work of
Yeah.
who the town is.
So like the state school property, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and exactly, and Carriage Grove and, the historical places, but also like all the nature we have to offer and everything else.
I think we really need to expand beyond the state school. That's, how many years has ADIC been in business and what has it gotten us? Not a lot. And I think a lot of focus is put on the state schools, kind of, this is our crown jewel, and I don't agree with that at all. There's so much more this town has to offer.
sure.
That we really should be elevating.
But that was supposed to be the economic business, small business base, wasn't it?
How's that work?
Well, I hear
But
it.
that's kind of where it ties back into the EDIC, because if this is a top-down thing and we get the buy-in from the select board, and the select board is like, yes, we have put together the marketing, visual identity, who Belchertown is, and then they have to push that down, then it would be on the EDIC to follow the script
Mhm.
of who the town is and what we're trying to sell.
I think one of the things that, and John, this is kind of directed towards you, is development of creating an economic development committee here in town, or not a town committee, but a group
Chamber-
of business people in town that come together and guide us in terms of what brought them to town, what works, what doesn't work, what hurdles do they face.
Okay.
For example, I stopped at Nate Packaging, which is that place down by Antonio's. I saw the sign, I stopped in and said, hey, who are you? And he's actually been working out his house for many years and then decided to go to a storefront. I said, well, it's great. He goes, and you're the first person from the town that stopped by to say hi. And he's like, who are you? And I'm like, well, I'm vice chair of the communications committee. But anyways, I think it would be really worthwhile to get business people together and create what, like I said, an economic development council.
We were at the Amherst Chamber of Commerce thing.
Yeah,
And that's a group
that's
of
what we're
people
trying to
who are
do,
for it.
Lou said the right thing. Chamber of Commerce. So Jen Turner has been big with pushing the Chamber of Commerce. We gave a discount rate to these businesses to get them formed to start doing the Chamber of Commerce stuff. We have luncheons. We got to get the message out better. I know we've done a horrible job, and I'm going to admit that out. We haven't been to businesses, and we should be calling them in. I know that's one of our goals as a select board member this year is to get those businesses kind of on one page and like invite them into the town so we can all talk to them and see what we can do. But I like the idea of the elevator speech. A lot of towns have like mission statements and vision statements. We don't have any of that in Belchertown. We don't have a mission statement on our website. We don't have a vision statement. And I come from a military background where every unit has something similar to that. Like, what's your drive in Belchertown? And those are great topics.
No children.
It's not.
I mean, the only thing, and I think the chamber stuff is great, but kind of the
We need
downside
more.
of the chamber
Yep.
is that they only promote businesses that are members of the chamber.
Yep.
And not everybody's gonna be a member.
No, but it's a place to get some guys together.
It's a start. It's definitely a
a
start.
start.
But, you know, for example, me as a small business, I'm not gonna join the chamber. Yeah, I'm a
Yep.
business here in town, you know?
Something I had talked to Steve about after the communicators conference, and it was something that he was also thinking of too, was like office hours, but less formal, like
Coffee with the town manager.
coffee with the town manager. Steve's gonna be at Starbucks, Steve will be at this Dunkin' Donuts, Steve will be at Roadhouse Cafe, stop on by, say hi, have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But we all know that he's incredibly busy, and while this outreach is super important, it's really hard to find the time, and
Yeah.
it's definitely not one of those things that you can only do one of
Mhm.
and never do it again. Like, it has to be a consistent, ongoing effort.
He went into Starbucks every morning for his coffee and sat there for 15 or 20 minutes. Becomes a routine, that kind of thing. I used to stop in at the donut place in Amherst, and that was my routine, and people would stop and we would chat and get things going.
But I mean, at the same time, I mean, I love the idea, but also, yeah, Steve's time is not his own, you know? Things like that.
This is, gonna show a picture. I'm sorry, it's on my laptop, John. I can send it to you, but this is, from the Stonehouse Museum. In 1958, there was a local chamber of commerce and they created a guide. This is just the cover to the guide, but it had like all the town businesses laid out. So
Well,
there used to be a local.
I love how it
commerce
says with
body.
modern design at the
Yeah,
bottom. I think that's excellent. It's very cool.
I'll send you guys the photos.
And we
but
still
yeah.
do have the goal of getting all of the community businesses onto the website.
Mhm.
And it seems like it should be a relatively easy project, and the first goal is starting with the most recent inductees to the Amherst Chamber, getting them on board and onto the website, kind of using them as guinea pigs, and then reaching out to every other business and be like, hey, look at how awesome this is. But also, I'm only one person at 19 hours, and I'm sure
are
like
you
I
getting
could
any?
lean on Abby to do some of it, but there's also the training with it and
I was saying,
everything
are
else
you getting
too.
any people from, what I'm trying to think of, the property tax rebate?
So Nikki has been working
But I mean,
crazy
more
on
than one?
outreach for that. No, my next one would be someone to take pictures of all of our facilities and properties.
Okay,
So that we can have that directory on the website as
I
well
was thinking
too.
we have one of those, just sit at a computer and do what you're trying to do here with the businesses. Anyway,
No, we have to, well, the idea is that we would send a letter to all the businesses,
okay,
and then they would tell us, yes, put me on the website,
okay.
as opposed to just
Do it,
putting all of them on the website without confirmation
okay,
and overloading the system, if you will.
okay.
In terms of the photo inventory, did you get the ones
I did, yes, thank you. And that's all I have to report on. Unless you have
That's it?
questions for me. That's it.
All right, does anybody have questions for Kate?
Good job.
Yeah, great job.
For all it's worth, good job.
All right, I think the next thing is additional items for discussion. Are there any topics that were not reasonably anticipated by the chair?
Yeah, I've got one, and I sent it around to everybody, the
Oh, yeah.
innovation award.
Mhm.
Thing that's, the deadline on that's very soon. I got comments back, I updated the innovation award. The next step is it goes to Steve for signature, then we'll just submit it.
I thought it was well done, well written.
For sure.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
Oh, so you're done, give it to Steve, he sends it out? Okay,
I'll send it, he just says, sign it. He just says to sign it.
oh, okay, okay.
And I'll get you that piece for the newsletter.
Yeah, so I have a process question about 15. So we ask at the end of meetings, are there any additional topics? No one wants to extend these meetings, and we're all tired and exhausted by that. And so what I used to do, what a number of people I know used to do, we used to ask this question right at the beginning of the meeting. Are there any additional items that we should discuss tonight? And we can slot them in as appropriate. So I'd like to suggest that we move that question to near the top of the agenda, if we're allowed to do that.
I think so, because I think the select board agenda has something similar at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Where they say, you know, and by the consent of the chair, blah, blah, blah. blah.
Great.
You have to take a vote on it to add it to the topic. Make sure you take a vote. Like, so if you wanted to talk about, I don't know, lawn signs, for example, you would have to take, if it wasn't on your agenda, you need to take a formal vote from the committee to talk about it. And it should be for emergency uses normally, like if it's emergency topic.
So with consent of the members, okay.
Good, thank you.
But before we do, I think I'd like Chris to weigh in on that.
Sure.
You know, so. I think it's a good idea, but I think let's wait till we have a meeting with Chris.
Fair enough.
And I think we also only recently moved the public comment to the top of the meeting. That was a recent thing that we did.
Well, we just implemented it recently.
Yeah.
And John, I really like how you guys are doing that with the select board meeting. I think it's great.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that's something that's long overdue. I've been fighting for that for a long time, even in all the other committees I've been part of. So I hope the public really takes hold of that and lets us know what's going on. We can't respond back, but I think it's good to bring it to our attention and everyone should voice their opinion.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I really do.
Next meeting?
All right, yeah, I think we're up to the next meeting, which should already be set. And I will,
13,
the 13th at 6:30 PM.
Okay.
6:30, right?
That's what we decided.
I had 2 meetings on my calendar, 6:30 and 7, and next month.
Okay.
My bad. But in looking at the calendar, our next meeting would fall on the 27th, which is Thanksgiving Day, which obviously we're not going to meet on. So I guess the question I'm going to pose now is, do we just forego it? Or do we do one on the 20th or the 4th? Or do we want to discuss it at the 13th?
Probably on the 13th.
Discuss
Some people's
on 13th,
calendars are
because,
more
yeah,
set.
yeah,
Probably.
Okay.
Holiday calendars.
Yeah, but obviously we're not going to meet on the 27th.
That's Thanksgiving, huh? Oh, there it is.
All right.
I know,
Great.
I know.
Okay,
Motion?
I move to adjourn.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye.
all
Opposed?
right.
Abstained?
Okay, this meeting is ended at 7:44. Thank you, everybody.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thanks,
And I just want
John.
to say
Thanks,
good job, Alarga, for taking over tonight. Yeah,
Thank
I think
you.
you have a new position next year.
You can be clerk.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no
This
problem.
is great. The 6:30 work.
Oh, hold on. Let me